I am sick of the Ron Weasley disrespect. This guy met a sad little boy at a train station and said, you know what, we're gonna ride or die together and I don't care what happens. And he's unappreciated by the Harry Potter fans. A big part of the Ron Weasley disrespect is of course because of the movies. A lot of the directors were kind of pushing a Harry and Hermione kind of thing, which literally had no basis in the books at all. And they actually took away a lot of Hermione's character to fit her into this role, and then they had to give her other traits which then took away from Ron Weasley and Ginny as well. Hermione is a very good character because realistically she is odd. She doesn't have a lot of friends, she's very logical and kind of a know-it-all, and people don't really like her. So they had to change all that to try to fit her into this Harry and Hermione relationship. Hermione was even ruthlessly cold at times, like when she found out that Rita Skeeter was an animagus that would transform into a beetle to hear gossip, and she trapped her in a jar for literal months. And in the books, Hermione is an extremely talented and intelligent witch, but being intelligent and actually knowing things aren't always the same, which is where Ron comes in. Ron is a pureblood and he's lived his entire life in the wizarding world, so there's just gonna be things that he knows and Harry and Hermione do not. Ron is the street smarts guy, which is so important because his insight into the actual wizarding world helps Harry and Hermione figure out so many other things. And a lot of times in the movies, because something was a fact about a wizarding family or something else to do with the wizarding world, a lot of times Hermione was the one to bring it up instead of Ron, like in the books. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione are Gryffindors, which means that one of their defining characteristics is being brave. And I do feel like that was starting to be taken away from both Ron and Hermione in the movies. Hermione did have a couple moments in the movies, but a lot of times her bravery was kind of shoved to the side in favor of being like, oh, she's really smart. And Ron's bravery was shoved to the side in favor of him eating like chicken legs. I think one of the worst examples of this is in the third movie when Harry, Ron, and Hermione believe that they're about to be attacked by Sirius Black. Ron had been dragged through the tunnel by Sirius because he was holding Peter Pettigrew, or who he knows as Scabbers. Ron's leg was broken by Sirius Black, and yet when Harry's there, he literally stands on his broken leg and says, if you want to kill him, you're gonna have to kill us too. And in the movie, this line goes to Hermione. Another example comes from the battle in the Department of Mysteries. A lot of scenes from the Order of the Phoenix weren't transferred into the movies because they're literally trying to take an 850-page book and turn it into a 2.5-hour film, which is very difficult to do. But they still cut out one of my favorite Ron moments in the entire series. In the Department of Mysteries, Harry gets separated from the rest of the group, and Ron is one of the people that's leading them through the Department of Mysteries to get back to Harry. He has a run-in with these magical brain things that literally wrap around his body, leaving him scarred, and yet he still carries on to help protect everybody else. And yes, everybody played a major role on surviving the Department of Mysteries, but I think even Hermione is like, oh, Ron was the one doing the heavy lifting. And another thing is that in the movies, Ron does not join the Quidditch team until his 6th year, but in the books, he joins in his 5th year. In the 5th book, Harry, Fred, and George are banned from the Quidditch team for attacking Malfoy, and Ron and Ginny actually join the team to make up for it. Ginny becomes the Seeker and Ron becomes the Keeper, and they both do a really good job ensuring Gryffindor wins the match. The other Gryffindors even cheer Weasley is our king because he did such a good job during the game. And in the movie, they kind of make it seem like he only made the team because other people were helping him out. And Harry consistently refers to Ron as his best friend. In the Goblet of Fire, when they're having their fight, Harry actually says there's a lot less fun and a lot more hanging out in the library when you're best friends with Hermione than when you're best friends with Ron. And Harry and Hermione are kind of stuck by themselves when Ron goes right ahead and hangs out with Dean and Seamus because he's just better at making friends. Not to mention the fact that Ron literally adopted him into his family. Harry receives a sweater from Mrs. Weasley, which means that Ron was more than likely sending her letters about him. And literally every summer, the Weasleys are just like, okay, he lives with us now, we're not giving him back. And that ends up with Hermione staying as well, and again, Hermione is a loner. So the Weasleys saw this girl who doesn't have a lot of friends and whose family really doesn't know much about the wizarding world, and they said, nope, she's with us. She's one of us too. Even though Ron was like, oh, she's kind of annoying, he was like, oh, she's annoying, but she's my friend too, and none of you are gonna say shit about her. And when Snape calls Hermione a know-it-all in the movie, Ron's like, oh, he's right, you know. And in the book, it's literally like, and Ron, who calls Hermione a know-it-all a couple times a week or something, yells at Snape. Literally got into a loud verbal disagreement with a teacher that already doesn't like him because he disrespected one of his friends. He's also ready to fight Malfoy at literally any drop of a hat, which is much appreciated in a ride or die. He'd probably fistfight Voldemort too, let's be honest. Literally all the Weasleys are like notorious for just jumping the Malfoys. In the first book, Malfoy literally says something about Weasley picking up coins on the ground or something because he's so poor, and he just full on lays him out. And poor Neville's trying to fight Crabbe and Goyle and getting whooped, but you know what, I'm sure everyone appreciated the sentiment. And Arthur Weasley literally threw Lucius Malfoy into a bookshelf in the second book because he was disrespecting his family. Terribly sad that that didn't make it into the movie. I would have loved to see Jason Isaacs stand up and his whole wig be crooked. And like I said earlier, there was Harry, Fred, and George attacking Malfoy at the Quidditch game, and this was Harry truly becoming a Weasley. And now that I think about it, Hermione hit Malfoy too, so maybe that's just like the criteria you need to meet to become a Weasley. Red hair means nothing, but right hook on the other hand. And a lot of people think that Hermione and Ron shouldn't have gotten together, but I disagree. They're opposite in the sort of way that they help each other become better instead of tearing each other down. All throughout the series, their differing skills helps keep Harry alive. And yeah, they fight and butt heads, but that's because Ron's one of the only people that actually goes back at Hermione. Hermione's a little bit odd, she's a little bit annoying, and other people, including Harry, are a lot of times just kind of like, okay, Hermione, whatever. But Ron will actually engage her in conversation whether he agrees with her or not. Maybe not in the best way, but the characters are still children, so they're not going to be the most emotionally bright. Also, if I thought that my friend's cat killed my pet, I'd probably be pretty pissed too. But despite the context clues of Hermione and Ron getting together, a lot of book readers still wanted Hermione and Draco Malfoy to get together, which I think is stupid because Draco Malfoy's a bitch. And I think that there's two main reasons why this exists. One, people think that Tom Felton is better looking than Rupert Grint, so they project that onto their characters and think that Malfoy would be better than Ron. But the second reason is that people project very hard onto Hermione Granger. We're talking about people that love a book series about wizard school. Of course they're going to project onto the character that's a little odd and loves books. And then they're like, oh, well, Draco Malfoy's the bad boy. He's misunderstood. Oh, I can fix him. Oh, you know who else could fix him? Hermione Granger. Baby girl, he is racist. Do I think that there's room for Malfoy to grow after this series? Yes. Is his growth going to be because of Hermione? No. Do I think Hermione's going to date the guy that was calling her wizard slurs for the past 7 years? Probably not. Also, in the second book, Harry's like, oh, I'm so not excited to go back to Hogwarts and see my arch nemesis, Draco Malfoy. Brother, I think you got bigger fish to fry. Harry was literally like, oh yeah, I don't really like Malfoy, and Ron was like, I will whoop that motherfucker. But of course, Ron's going to have faults, because every good character does. And Ron's main fault is his jealousy. From the first book, Ron looks into the mirror of Arise and sees himself as the Quidditch captain and head boy because he wants to live up to his brother's legacy. Being the youngest to a lot of siblings can be tough because it always seems like they've already done everything, and if you can't accomplish those things too, you're a failure. Ron often just sees himself as another Weasley, like there's nothing really special about him, and this also comes out with his friendship with Harry. He thinks he's just Harry Potter's best friend who never gets any glory or recognition, and this hits a boiling point in the fourth book when he thinks that Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire. Instead of listening to Harry, Ron's jealousy hits an all-time high, and he can't believe anything besides Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire to get even more glory. And after the first task, Ron realizes that he was wrong and apologizes to Harry, and once again supports his best friend because he really needs it. And Ron's insecurity also makes it incredibly difficult for him to try to begin a relationship with Hermione. Like when Hermione goes to the Yule Ball with Victor Krum and Ron's like, holy shit, I fucked up, I dropped the ball. And then instead of fixing things with her, he literally just makes it worse because he can't get over his insecurity. And then in the 6th book, he gets with Lavender even though he really doesn't like her because she's very upfront about her feelings and he doesn't have to feel like he's not good enough. And then in the 7th book, he finally starts to get his shit together and make moves on Hermione because he finally values himself and then puts on that stupid Horcrux and ruins everything. Like when they're on the run and Ron and Hermione are constantly emotionally supporting each other and Harry's like having a breakdown in the corner, even he realizes, oh, I think something's going on between those two. And oblivious is literally written into Harry's character description. And in the movie, when Ron leaves, Harry and Hermione like dance and they're like having a good old time. And in the book, Harry's like, it's really quiet and Hermione cries all the time. Because Ron Weasley has been their emotional support for 7 years and now he's gone. Anyway, real Harry Potter fans love Ron Weasley. And last week, I literally made a video talking about parasocial relationships and people acting like fictional characters are real. And then I make this video and pretty much everything I said makes it sound like I think that these people actually exist. I don't. I just think that a lot of people need to go back to the 7th grade and take literature comprehension classes. Because Ron Weasley was that guy. His Patronus is a terrier. Ron Weasley literally got that dog in him. Honestly, I made this whole video and now I'm thinking a lot about how Harry Potter himself is underrated, so maybe that'll become a video as well soon too, but only time will tell. Thanks for watching, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, have a great rest of your day.